Nobody noticed the collapse at first. Nevada's rabbit populations rise and fall constantly. Drought changes everything out there. Food disappears. Predators move. Entire valleys can feel empty for months. So when ranchers near Elko started reporting fewer jackrabbits, most wildlife officers ignored it.at first. But then the reports spread farther south. Humboldt County, Pershing County, dry basins near Winnemucca. The same pattern everywhere. Rabbits weren't just declining. They were disappearing unusually fast. And something else felt wrong. Coyotes were suddenly moving closer to highways. Hawks abandoned old nesting zones. Even longtime hunters started saying the desert felt quieter after sunset. That detail bothered biologist Dr. Mason immediately. Because silence in an ecosystem usually means one thing. Something higher in the food chain has changed. Then came the carcasses, scattered near dry washes and abandoned fence lines. But the feeding patterns looked strange. Too clean. Too selective. Predators normally leave chaos behind. These kills looked controlled. Almost efficient. At first the team blamed disease. Then heat stress. Then parasites. But the evidence kept contradicting every explanation. Some rabbit bodies showed signs of extreme exhaustion. Others had internal injuries with almost no external damage. And many simply vanished entirely. That was the first real warning sign. Then a motion-triggered trail camera captured movement near an abandoned mining road west of Battle Mountain. The footage came in just after midnight. Low visibility. Heavy wind. At first glance the animal resembled a coyote. But the movement looked wrong. Too low. Too fast. And strangely coordinated. Because a second shape appeared moments later behind the first. Then a third. Not chasing randomly. Tracking something. That was the moment concern turned into investigation. Because according to Nevada wildlife records, those animals were never supposed to exist in that region. And 3 nights later another camera captured the same shapes again. This time much closer. And this time, they weren't hunting alone. The second footage changed the entire investigation. There were too many of them. Thermal imaging showed at least 30 moving across a dry valley floor near the Humboldt Range. Not scattered. Not competing. Moving together. That detail unsettled every wildlife officer watching the screen. Predators in Nevada's desert rarely operate like that. Especially not in numbers. Dr. Mason immediately requested older migration records from state archives. At the same time, field teams began surveying nearby rabbit colonies. What they found made the situation worse. Many rabbits showed severe damage inside their ear canals. Bleeding. Inflammation. Disorientation. If prolonged stress had pushed entire populations into collapse before the attacks even started. Some rabbits appeared to have run themselves to death. Others had abandoned feeding grounds completely. The ecosystem was reacting to constant pressure. Then came reports from ranchers. Ground birds vanishing. Coyotes retreating from traditional hunting areas. Mule deer changing migration routes weeks earlier than normal. One local tracker described it simply. The desert feels hunted. That phrase stayed with the team. Because ecosystems only shift this dramatically when a dominant pressure suddenly appears. Then a retired wildlife contractor contacted the investigation unit after seeing the drone footage leaked internally. He recognized the movement patterns immediately. And what he said next stunned everyone in the room. He had seen similar tracking behavior once before. More than a decade earlier. Inside a restricted desert sector tied to an abandoned federal research site northwest of Tonopah. Most of the younger researchers thought he was mistaken, until he produced an archived field report. The coordinates matched exactly. Same valley systems. Same movement formations. Same predator signatures. But the most disturbing part sat near the bottom of the file. A single typed sentence highlighted in red. Behavioral adaptation accelerating beyond projections. No species name. No conclusion. No explanation. Just another note beneath it. Containment measures unsuccessful. And attached to the report was a faded map leading directly toward an abandoned facility buried deep inside Nevada's restricted desert range. The convoy reached the outer desert sector just before sunset. Miles of empty terrain surrounded the old facility. Dry riverbeds. wind pushing dust across abandoned service roads. Most of the site had been erased by time, at least that's what the team expected. But fresh tire tracks changed everything. Someone had been there recently. That immediately raised tension inside the convoy. Because officially, the facility had been shut down for years. The first structure appeared behind a low ridge, concrete walls half buried in sand. Old ventilation shafts sticking from the hillside. Rust-covered floodlights facing the valley below. No signs. No markings. Just silence. Then Dr. Mason noticed the perimeter fence. Sections had been bent outward, not inward, like something had forced its way out long ago. The claw marks came next. Deep grooves carved into oxidized steel. Too narrow for bears, too tall for coyotes, and repeated across multiple sections of fencing, as if the same behavior happened over and over again. Nobody spoke much after seeing that. Then came the first real breakthrough. Inside the abandoned control room, technicians restored fragments of archived containment logs from damaged backup drives. Most files were corrupted, but enough survived to reveal part of the truth. The project had started during the late 1980s. Officially, it focused on predator survival behavior inside collapsing desert ecosystems. At first, the program sounded harmless. Track movement, study adaptation, monitor migration. But the logs showed rapid changes after rabbit populations inside the testing sectors exploded beyond expectations. The predators adapted faster than researchers predicted. Breeding cycles accelerated. Hunting patterns changed. Group coordination emerged. That single detail terrified the field team. Because coordinated predator behavior at that scale should not have developed naturally. Then another archived line appeared on screen. Tunnel breach connected containment zones to external cave systems. The room went quiet. An earthquake years earlier had fractured underground barriers beneath the facility. And according to the remaining logs, the escape was never fully stopped. That explained the disappearances, but it also revealed something far worse. The predators had spent decades spreading underground through abandoned mining tunnels beneath Nevada's desert. And outside motion sensors inside the old compound suddenly activated again. One corridor after another. Deep below the facility. As if something underground had started moving. Nobody entered the lower tunnels immediately. The motion sensors kept triggering deeper underground. Part for one after another. Slowly moving through the buried corridor system beneath the compound. The technicians thought it might be electrical failure. Until the thermal scanners detected movement below the facility. Multiple heat signatures. Fast. Constantly shifting. That changed the mood instantly. Because the underground sections had supposedly collapsed years earlier. Then one surviving security camera flickered online. Dust filled the corridor. Pipes leaked from cracked concrete walls. At first the hallway looked empty. Then several shapes crossed the frame. Low to the ground. Moving together. Silent. The footage replayed 3 times before anyone spoke. It wasn't one animal. It was a coordinated group navigating the tunnels like they already knew the layout. That detail disturbed Dr. Mason more than anything else. Because predators do not normally preserve structured movement patterns across generations without environmental pressure. Then came the mini-twist. One archived engineering map revealed the tunnel system stretched far beyond the facility itself. Connected lava tubes, mining shafts, natural underground channels. An entire hidden network beneath sections of western Nevada. Suddenly the containment failure looked catastrophic. The animals hadn't simply escaped. They had disappeared into terrain almost impossible to monitor. And according to older migration projections, some tunnel routes extended dangerously close to agricultural regions outside the desert basin. The realization hit hard. This was no longer just a wildlife problem. Entire ecosystems could already be shifting around and expanding predator population nobody officially acknowledged existed. Then the exterior floodlights shut off. Total darkness swallowed the valley. A loud metallic impact echoed across the outer fence seconds later. Then another. Closer this time. Thermal scanners immediately began counting movement outside the compound perimeter. 10 signatures. Then 20. Then over 50. And they were slowly surrounding the facility. Nobody slept that night. The thermal displays kept filling with movement around the compound. The animals stayed just beyond the floodlights. Watching. Waiting. Not attacking. That behavior frightened the team more than aggression would have, because it suggested patience, coordination, awareness. Then the archive system finally restored one final classified report hidden deep inside the damaged servers. The document explained everything. The original predators were not native to Nevada. They had been introduced decades earlier during a federal desert adaptation experiment tied to ecological survival research. Researchers wanted to study how certain small predators adapted under extreme. At first the population remained manageable. Then rabbit numbers exploded across the containment sectors. Food became unlimited. The predators changed rapidly. Breeding accelerated. Group hunting emerged. Migration behavior evolved. And after underground tunnel breaches,